Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Legal Karma podcast. I'm your host and founder of Legal Karma, Corey Kelly. This podcast isn't meant to be another legal tech updates podcast. Oh no. During our show, we'll bring on a variety of legal professionals to unpack how they're leveraging tech to scale their social justice work and close the accessibility gap in law. We'll also feature other great tech leaders from the industry who are using their software for good. Because at Legal Karma, we believe tech is poised, and in our opinion, obligated to make an impact. We're glad you're here. To learn more about Legal Karma's mission, visit us at legalkarma.org/foundation. Now let's jump in. Welcome to all of our listeners. I am joined today by Tara Pastenbach. Did I pronounce that right?
Good enough. Yeah, Pastenbach is how I say it.
Tara is the executive director of Texas at LegalShield. Tara, I have really enjoyed getting to know you and your passion for your work at LegalShield. And as I understand it, you've been there your entire career or darn nearly your entire career, and you love it. And I'm really looking forward to our conversation today on the future of law firms. But first, please just introduce yourself quickly for our listeners and share a little more about you and your background.
Absolutely. And I'm honored to be on here with you, Corey. Like we were just kind of chatting before the official start of this. We only just recently met because of a LinkedIn connection, and you reached out, hey, let's see how we can collaborate. First time we chatted it was a really good conversation. I like who you are as a person, and I definitely like what you're about because I'm in the same field in a different way, but it's ultimately social justice is what brought us to the point where you are starting your career and I'm 22 years into mine. But I am I'm self-employed. I have been for 22 years since I got started with LegalShield. As a matter of fact, I celebrate my 22nd birthday with LegalShield tomorrow. So September 26th, 1998, just a little bit about my background. I was a wannabe entrepreneur, which just means that I tried 3 different, startup companies in a row trying to do something because I knew that I did not want to have a job. And you and I were actually just talking about this too. I think there's like a chip in someone's mind that just kind of makes you an unemployable person. And I had just always been that person. I mean, I had every, minimum wage job that you can have. I think I bartended for the longest stint of any of it, but I was the receptionist here. I waited tables here. I worked at this mall, and so I did all those things, and I knew I never wanted to work for anybody else. And so those 3 entrepreneurial ventures were kind of my sticking my foot in the water and trying to figure out, how to go about my dream, which was to be self-employed, own my own time, have an income that's dictated by me, and mostly just a lifestyle is what I was about. And so I was about $40,000 in debt, and I was completely upside down and super stressed when someone introduced me to LegalShield. And they said, hey, this is a way for you to talk to some attorneys that is affordable. You just pay a low monthly fee. And so I was sold on the idea immediately. And after I used the services for myself twice, I thought, well, gosh, I'll tell everyone about this, And in my mindset at that time, I was your age. I was 27 at that time. And I thought, okay, well, while I'm looking for a real job, I will, just tell people about this. And that really turned into more income than I'd ever earned doing anything else. And I haven't had a job since. And so tomorrow is my 22nd birthday. I am a mom. My son is going to be 13, which blows my mind this coming December. And I'm homeschooling him this year because of, COVID and everything. I'm unfortunately high risk. And so I pulled him out so that we would all be safe, and we're having fun, because I have the time to spend with him. I'm grateful to be able to spend that time with him because any parent will tell you that this is the age that they start, wanting to hang out with mom less and less. And so I'm grateful to have a little captive audience. I have 2 doggies. I've lived in Austin now for 10 years. I love it. I'm a military brat, so I've lived all over the world and love what I do. And I'm happy to have this conversation with you. So thank you for that opportunity.
And thank you for that introduction. That's perfect. I always love having the guests introduce themselves. You always much better job than I do. Um, well, so and quickly, let's talk about LegalShield services. And remember, our audience is full of legal professionals, so no need to get in the
Okay.
weeds or explain it to like like someone who's outside of our industries. Just at a high level, maybe for folks who don't know, what does LegalShield do?
So LegalShield is a company that is 49 years old. It's almost 50 years old. And they basically just borrowed the concept of legal insurance, which has thrived over in Europe since about as early as 1907, and started the concept here. I think anyone who's in the legal profession probably heard of our company at least once. We started out as Prepaid Legal Services Inc., of Ada, Oklahoma. Was exciting for the rebranding in 2011 to LegalShield because it rolls off the tongue a lot easier. But we market to individuals and families, to small business owners, and we offer an employee benefit of our services. And basically what we do is we protect and empower folks and small business owners by giving them unlimited access to their own full service law firm for a low and affordable flat monthly fee. And so as an example, our personal plan, which is for individuals and families, is $24.95 per month. And that's a subscription fee, which once they enroll into it, they're locked into that rate for life. Even if our prices increase to new members down the road, they're rate stable when they enroll, and there's no contract to the member. It is month to month. And so they have the option of canceling at any time. And what's unique, I think, about LegalShield as opposed to LegalZoom or, ARAG or any of these other companies that are in the legal services space is that we have a proprietary network of provider law firms, which it's a system that no one's been able to clone so far since we started it back in 1994. And what that means is that we have a provider law firm in every state across all 50 here in the United States and now all throughout Canada as well. And that provider law firm is contracted with LegalShield to adhere to a really long list of criteria. So, for example, all phone calls coming in have to be picked up by the third ring. Attorneys have to get back to our members each time they call in within 4 to 8 business hours or earlier. I often get a call back within 90 minutes. They have to make sure that they have attorneys that represent every area of law. Entertainment law is big out in California. Cattle law, is big here in Texas. And so we make sure that not only do we have an attorney on standby who is available in every area of law, but also bilingual. So Spanish and English are the two languages that we provide services in. Of course, French up there in Quebec, Canada as well. So we have all of this going on. And what's really cool is that the burden of responsibility to maintain happy members is going to be lying with the attorneys because the members aren't on a, locked in contract. And the attorneys with the provider law firm are incentivized to provide excellent service because they earn a third of every monthly membership premium. And so as a reference, our Texas law firm here is earning about $1.3 million a month every month, which is a third of every monthly membership premium throughout members in their entire state. So they're motivated, to provide really excellent service for members here in Texas because the members don't have to keep their plan. And so they're maintaining their plan because they're getting excellent service. And so it's really a brilliant system that took a long time and creating long-term relationships with some of the biggest law firms across the nation to put into place. And we really value the fact that service is our only business. And it's wonderful to be able to really put individuals who otherwise probably couldn't afford an attorney, if they had to hire them by the hour, and or people who just see the value in not having to pay high hourly fees, but rather a low subscription, affordable monthly rate to access attorneys for anything that they need, throughout their personal and business lives. So it's a great plan. I recommend it, of course. And, it's been able to create a career for me, but being able to really empower and protect people is my passion. So thanks for that little plug there.
Well, yeah, and I wanted to make sure that any listener knew what LegalShield was. And we'll talk a lot about kind of access to justice. And I think, what really excited me to talk about LegalShield on our podcast today. But kind of, if I was going to put it in really quick terms, it sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong here, it sounds like LegalShield has partnerships with law firms and, in a way does lead gen for them. And then they get a cut of 1/3 of the membership fees that come through.
Yes and no, but it's not lead gen. So we associates like myself, we're all independent contractors with LegalShield. We put the members on the books, and the provider law firm is just responsible for adhering to the contract to make sure that all the members get the services that we say they will. And so the lawyers that are a part of the provider network, so it's not an open panel system like LegalZoom and these others, where it's just like, oh, here's a big phone book of lawyers that we're willing to work with. These are all lawyers that are like locked into our system. So they have all been vetted. They have to have a minimum of 4 years experience specializing in their specific field of law before they're even able to speak with a member. So it's all ran through the provider law firm. And they're the ones who have the contract with LegalShield. So they're not actively looking to get more business, but they kind of rely on us to fill their pipeline, so to speak, of more residual income and passive income to that law firm, because we're the ones out here selling.
Yeah. So there's some quality assurance there as well.
Yeah.
So you've been with LegalShield now for over 22 years, which LegalShield arguably is one of the most successful legal tech companies out there, I think. So in your opinion, what is the most innovative achievement of the company in the last 10 years? So since like the digital age and the rebrand, what would you say LegalShield has really done well since 2010?
Well, 2011 is when the rebrand happened. So much. Because I will tell you that we started in 1972, and the gentleman who started our company, the founder, Harlan Stonecipher, he essentially ran the company up until 2010. And bless his heart, we love him. May he rest in eternal peace. We lost him in 2014. He gave his whole entire life to this company. But as we all know, you only know what you know. And he was not a tech guy at all. I mean, it's just like the fact that we were still named Prepaid Legal Services Inc., of Ada, Oklahoma, I think probably says a lot. That was our name in 2010. So what he had the mind to do and the foresight to do was only agree to sell the company to visionaries who believed in continuing his mission. And he did that. And so MidOcean Partners purchased our company in 2011. The first thing they did was take us off the New York Stock Exchange, which we were grateful for because we no longer had to answer to shareholders to grow. I recorded many, short recordings myself, like a sizzle message, a short message overview. And I would have shareholders from Washington, D.C. calling me to let me know whether or not they liked my message. And so that was really kind of holding us back as a company, I believe. MidOcean Partners, what they did is they did the branding, which was fantastic. But they then brought in a gentleman who is very well known in the tech world, Jeff Bell, to be our CEO. And so Jeff has been on board as our CEO now for 5 years, I believe. I don't know, around there. And he's the guy that, was a VP of Microsoft and took Xbox from nobody knew what it was to what it is today. He's the guy that put, the back seat, 4 doors on a Jeep, after years and years and years of Jeep losing sales. He said, hey, let's make it a 4-door. And boom, all of a sudden they became very popular again when he was working with Chrysler. And he was the guy that put the Chrysler 300, out there. Let's make a sexy baby Benz, and so he's very forward thinking. And then specifically here with LegalShield, he's made everything tech. And our sales have skyrocketed. Our retention has grown 27 points since 2011. And a lot of that has been since he came on board, because he's truly connected the usage of the service more directly to the LegalShield member by use of an app. And so we literally just tap open our app. It's our LegalShield app. We can tap on call our law firm. We can tap on, the red button, which is for an emergency. If, one of our members is ever pulled over, or, being detained or questioned or feel like their rights are being violated, the one person that we have a right to call is our attorney. And I've sat across the table from individuals who, A, they were an attorney, B, they were married to an attorney, and C, they had parents who were attorneys, and said that they couldn't guarantee an attorney to get on the phone with them 24/7, but we guarantee that. And so the app has been everything for us. We can, if we get pulled over and have a traffic ticket, for example, we take a picture of it right through our app, and boom, it's uploaded to our provider law firm. And so that tech element has really brought our company into the 21st century finally, and made it so much more tangible as a service. Before it was, okay, well, I have, this service, and it's like out there, and I can't really see all that it does, or does it do this? Do I remember that correctly? And now with that app, everyone's got their cell phone or their smartphone, and you just open it up and you can see all the benefits there. You can, interact and be on the phone with your law firm within a couple of minutes. And it's really made the intangible that was our service more of a, I have a lawyer on my phone type of situation. And we're grateful for him for that. But tech has been everything. From an associate standpoint, from the selling standpoint, the tech has just drastically improved as well. Like our website is fantastic now. We're not embarrassed to send people to it like we were pre-2010. So tech has had a lot of influence for the members, for our selling, and then specifically to the service delivery, the lawyers themselves. Here in the last, I think, 5 years now, all of our provider law firms, they were independently connected with our company, LegalShield. So, for example, if I, as a member, were to call into my provider law firm in Texas, I get an intake number, and then the attorney who is appropriate for my legal issue is going to call me back, whether it's tax or real estate or whatever. And so that intake number would be tracked by LegalShield's home office to make sure that, a member was getting a call back on time, or how long was that intake number in the system before it was closed, and resulting in a happy member, on the other end. Well, now all of our provider law firms are now networked with each other. And so it's great. Like I just shared a story here about one of our members out in Pennsylvania, for example. On our plan, kids, if they're a full-time college student or unmarried and living at home, are covered to the age of 26. And there was a young man who, his parents lived in Pennsylvania, but he was a pre-architecture student out in Cleveland, Ohio, going to school out there. He'd rented a loft. And the rule of the loft was you couldn't nail anything into the walls. And so he's pre-architecture, right? He built this like loft system that turned his 1-floor loft into 2 floors for him, so he could sleep upstairs and do studying and hang out and all that stuff downstairs. Well, it was such a cool loft system that when the landlord saw it when he was getting ready to move, and he got accepted to a graduate school in Massachusetts. The landlord tried to threaten him and say, "Hey, if you try and take that with you, I'm going to withhold your deposit. You need to leave that." So here's a kid in Ohio who called his provider firm, which was in Pennsylvania because that's where his parents live. And they said, "Well, it's an Ohio situation. I don't think he can do that, but let me connect you to our Ohio provider firm." Hadn't had an attorney there call him, advise him, say, "Yeah, no, he can't do that. We're going to write a letter. You go ahead and take your loft system with you." He hightailed it to Boston, where he started graduate school, and then again called the provider law firm in Pennsylvania to have them review the loft that he was going to rent, because now he was trigger happy. He was afraid, but they had the Massachusetts law firm, have a gentleman who is an attorney review the lease agreement for him. And so with all of our provider law firms that are now connected, if a person is traveling, if they have a legal issue in another state, if they, have a business, they're doing business in multiple different states, it's awesome because all of our provider law firms can consult with each other so very easily to make sure that law is being followed and accessible to all of our members.
So you said that your CEO joined in maybe 2015?
Jeff Bell?
Sorry, say that again.
Were you referring to Jeff Bell? You sounded a little bit maybe going out of service there.
Yeah, I think
Jeff
we might
Bell.
be. Yeah, Jeff Bell.
Yeah, he started around 2014, 2015 with us as the CEO.
And what I was struck by was you said that during that time, he improved the retention rate by 27 points. That is really, really
company-wide.
good.
It's huge. It is. It's enormous. And it has everything to do with every member having that app on their phone.
Yeah, so I was about to say, it sounds like you attribute all of that to the tech integrations and the tech upgrades. So I'd love to kind of steer the conversation there. But before we kind of deep dive into tech and some of the things that you're working on, I'm curious. You have a lot of insight into LegalShield now. What kind of remains to be a shortcoming of the tech? You went over a lot of features that make sense. Sense making for the members. They can look at their phone. They always have access. It's in an app. It's at their fingertips. It helps the partnering law firm really quickly navigate where these individuals need to go, manage intake, onboarding, things like that. Where's an opportunity that maybe still and probably is already on your roadmap for improvement, but where does kind of LegalShield head next as far as tech improvements go?
That's a really good question. And I'm being selective with my words here because I don't want to make it come across that, oh, well, we're perfect. We have no way to improve. But I will say that I'm just not that forward thinking when it comes to tech. So someone like a Jeff Bell, who understands tech and where it can take us, would probably be a better person to ask that question of, because as far as I'm concerned, I'm like, oh, wow, app, neat, our shortcomings. I mean, I don't know, because I don't know what next level tech can take us to beyond where we're at right now. And I'm sorry if that's not the answer you were looking for. It's just, I honestly can't think of where we're lacking when it comes to tech right now. Because like everything that I would want to do as a member, I can do.
On our show.
Well, yeah, I did send him that email. Yeah. So.
Okay. Well, so this podcast is not only focused on tech. Most importantly, it's a conversation on how legal tech can make an impact on access to justice. And in Legal Karma's opinion, we believe that legal tech providers have an obligation to do so. So I really love your conversation about how you brought in tech at LegalShield and improved those retention rates. You're able to get your product out there to more now, and people are using it. And that's often the challenge, is adoption and usage, and tech really enables that. And
Mm-hmm.
that's a lot of the work that we try to do at Legal Karma. We try to build, in many ways, a portal that sits on top of any law firm that helps them scale their services, whether it's through automated, unbundled services, subscription model, scaling that intake and onboarding, pre-litigation work, so it's so heavy. Yeah, I guess maybe my question for you is, what do you think law firms, like the traditional law firm today, what do you think they could learn from the work that LegalShield has done to get more access into the hands of others? Because I think many, many people, especially young lawyers right now, are looking at that subscription model. I mean, they subscribe to literally everything else in their life.
Mm-hmm.
Legal services is one of the very last things that isn't widely available to subscribe to. I mean, I think, aside from LegalShield, you guys have figured it out pretty well. So I think in
Mm-hmm.
the next 5 to 10 years, you're going to see a lot of law firms start to lean into that subscription model. And I think LegalShield is really poised to be a leader in that space, and already is. So what do you think traditional law firms could learn from LegalShield today?
Well, I think it's a paradigm shift. And I think it's that, not that I'm a fan of Walmart, but that Walmart ideal, which is, deal in volume, sell for less, because that's really what LegalShield is. And, I happen to have a pretty solid relationship with a lot of the lawyers who are partners at our provider law firms across the nation. And it's interesting to hear how that paradigm shifted for them. When they were initially approached to be a part of a provider law firm for LegalShield, it was like, well, where are we going to get our billable hours from? And they had to have that mindset changed to go, oh, wait, you mean we got into law school to help people, and now we actually can without having to worry about billable hours? And it's phenomenal to be able to speak with these attorneys who now see the value in just helping people and have the burden of billable hours removed. And so any law firm that's looking to get into a subscription, service situation is going to have to probably work on that paradigm, because when you're driven, and I don't want to sound rude here, because I'm sure that the attorneys who are listening in, the owners of the law firms that are listening into this podcast are proactive in seeing positive change. But for those out there that are just focused on the money, they're probably not going to have much success with a subscription service, because they're going to be a little bit greedy with what they offer through a subscription. However, if you think about how many people are out there, the average person in a job that makes, $15 to $20 an hour is not in a situation to be able to hire an attorney for $361 an hour, which is the national average last time I checked. I mean, $361 an hour, that's a limited market. And if you want to stay focused on only working with the folks who can afford those rates, then you're only going to grow at a certain rate. However, if you open your mind and think, okay, all the people who cannot afford to hire me, but who do have, according to the American Bar Association, an average of 4 to 6 times a year where they need the advice of an attorney to get through a personal matter, if I could offer a way for them to be able to just pay me a small monthly fee where I can be available for just, general consultation. Maybe I can review some contracts for them. Maybe I can, prepare a will for them or update their will. Maybe I can, write a letter or make a phone call on their behalf to someone who's, trying to take advantage of them, or who owes them money, those types of services. I mean, I just kind of rattled off LegalShield services. what we would refer to as Title I, like just that area right there, the consultation, letters and phone calls, contract and document review, will preparation, that's the majority of what our members use the services for. Those little 4 areas right there. And so to be able to offer a subscription service to regular folks who can't afford to hire you by the hour, but who would call in, and not every day, not become a huge time suck for you so that you weren't able to focus on your practice, but the people that, might call you once a month or so because they need some advice on something that's important to them. And to have you have the ability to provide that, it's going to feel good for your heart, but it'll also, I believe, impact your pocketbook your wallet, let's say, in a big way too, because when you have 100 people on a subscription-based service, let's say $20 a month, that adds a lot of income. And that is not a whole lot of extra time. So I think subscription services for legal are the direction. It's the future. I really believe that. It's kind of funny, Corey, because yesterday, on my business page, I posted some of these subscriptions, and these may be a little tiny bit outdated from like 2 years ago or so, but Hulu has over 20 million subscribers. Apple Music has 50 million subscribers. Netflix has 55 million subscribers. Spotify has 83 million premium subscribers. 93 million people pay for cable every month. Our cell phones are subscription now. Amazon Prime has 100 million subscribers. Jeff Bezos, man. Dollar Shave Club. I mean, even to shave, which is something like, people do every day. There's 2 million members that are paying $10 a month to that club. The meal packages, Blue Apron. I just made something with Purple Carrot the other day. Average subscriber pays $58 a month, or rather per order for food. Stitch Fix, which is like clothing for women. You order an outfit online and they deliver it. That's 2.7 million subscribers there. And so the trend is definitely subscription. The trend is definitely app, and so if you can find a way to capitalize on those two trends, then you're positioning yourself very wisely.
Well, and I think I couldn't agree more. I mean, the future of law firms is the subscription model. There's no doubt. And I think the issue of us getting there is twofold. One, I think it's a real lack of tech. I'm sure LegalShield has some really stellar proprietary tech that allows you guys to manage your intake, onboarding, sell your services online. But there's really not a lot of other tools out there. As I understand it, Legal Karma will be at least one of the first 3. I mean, given the fact that there might be a few out there that I just haven't heard of yet. So I think one part of that issue is that there's not a piece of tech that enables law firms to sell their services in a subscription model. Law firms are really traditionally slow to adopt new tech as well. So there's kind of, it's such a fundamental shift in a few ways. And then when you throw tech in as the mediator, it just kind of slows it down even further. And I think the second issue, which is really getting to what you were talking about, is that paradigm shift. Because there is a huge market out there for people who can't afford the billable hours legal services. And the issue is that attorneys, when they go to law school, they aren't taught how to be business people. They're taught to do their job, which is to be a really great lawyer. But then but then only lawyers can have ownership in law firms. So they are set up to be business owners when they don't have training to do that yet. And then they're also, doing their job as attorneys. So I think what no attention is being paid to right now is that there's a huge piece of the market that if you could learn to tap into, and I don't know that, there could be another competitor, maybe the LegalShield that figures it out. But I think what's more likely is these smaller, they call them shingle law firms, Like learn how to adapt and to get subscribers. So it's kind of a dual shift here. They need the tech that enables them, but then also understand that, hey, there's a real market share there, and maybe you make less per client, but it's a snowball effect. It's where if you can scale and get more subscribers, obviously you're going to start making more cash. And I think that in the beginning, in those early days, you're seeing less profits, but it is again, something that you have to build and work for. But it's just there's no handbook on how to do that yet, and I think that's what is such a turnoff. It takes really entrepreneurial attorneys or really tech forward attorneys to try to adopt something like that, because early on they're going to see their friends making way more money than they're making. But if they can kind of be at the forefront of that, I think that it'll really pay off for them in a big way, especially come 2025, 2030. So I couldn't agree more. Paradigm shifts, understanding business, understanding market positioning, and then also the tech doesn't exist for them yet either. So I think that's also a real issue. And
Well,
all
that's
of
where
this
you're going
gets
to come
that.
in, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I hope Legal Karma can do, and in two ways, because then what this means for access to justice, I feel like people hear access to justice and they think pro bono work, or they think, yeah, we've got to give our services for free. And yes, that is very important and necessary work that's out there. There's a lot of federal grants for that. There's a lot of entities supporting that, but pro bono is not enough. Not only do pro bono attorneys need tech to enable their great work to scale, because they can't manage all these administrative tasks and be effective. It's also access to justice is what LegalShield does in many ways. It's not just giving it out for free. It's giving services at just a reasonable rate. I mean, even me as a business owner, I have a laundry list of tasks that I need done, and I get quotes from attorneys, and I'm just shocked. I'm like, that would take me under if I had to. I can't even get all my own personal legal ducks in a row without being really challenged financially. It's just not a viable option.
Well, I'll send you a link.
So couldn't agree more with the paradigm shift. Say that again. Sorry, the thing cut out.
I said, well, I'll send you a link for your small business. but you're right. You're so right. And I don't want to cut you off there. I was just making a little joke, but you're so right in the direction that you're going. And I just wanted to emphasize too that with attorneys that are looking to maybe implement a subscription model, you would be, and I'm not going to claim that I'm an attorney, that I'm in the market of legal tech, because it's not really something I've ever focused on, but yours is the very first company I've ever heard of that actually delves into that market, which is legal tech. I mean, there may be another couple out there, but I would imagine nobody's done more research in that field than you have, which is what caused you to create Legal Karma in the first place. And so you would be the person that they would speak with about, setting something like that up. But it doesn't have to be an either or. It doesn't have to be, for an attorney to go, okay, well, I'm either going to charge customers and clients by the hour for my services, or I'm going to do a subscription. Our provider law firm here in Texas, for example, they are a dedicated firm to LegalShield now, but they, like many of our provider firms across the country, didn't start out that way. They continued taking on other clients, and then LegalShield was like one of their accounts. And then LegalShield became their biggest account by far, and they just stopped taking other clients. But setting up a subscription model like that, it can be something that is just starting, in the background. Well, I have 10 people that are paying me $25 a month, and now I have 50 people, and then now I have 100. Meanwhile, I'm going about my day working with clients that can't afford to pay me by the hour. And then, at one point being able to maybe manage both, or choosing which one makes you feel better, and if it's a subscription model, then great, start hiring new folks, because you'll get a lot of use.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, it's not like you have to pick well, I'm only going to do subscriptions. It's just diversifying your income. I kind of like to refer to Legal
Yeah.
Karma's future as a Shopify for law. Like, we're going to enable you to have users log in at your firm and pick options that work really well for them. And I think that makes a lot of sense, from shingle law firms all the way up
Mm-hmm.
to 200, up until you can afford to bring an in-house software developer. Like, if you're there where you're affording, like if you have an actual software development team at your law firm, you've made it. Rock on. But until then, the years that get you there, that's where I hope Legal Karma comes in and helps people build the law firm of the future. Um, so
Well, I believe that you can do that because you already have a vision for the industry. And now it's just a matter of educating the law firms and lawyers how they can capitalize on that. So I believe in you in making that happen for them.
well, thank you for saying that. And I think that it's all the issues that people have with LegalShield. I mean, I'm sure every user or every listener right now, I'm sure, has done something with LegalShield. I'm sure you've looked at LegalShield. I mean, the big hang up that I always have when I'm on LegalShield is, they're advising you over and over and over again, we're not lawyers. We can't, we can't advise you legally. You have to talk to an attorney. I mean, and that's due to unauthorized practice of law, UPL issues. So when you're
Mm-hmm.
filling out forms automatically, they have to give you some of those disclaimers. But what if, and me as either a business owner or someone who's doing my will or any other unbundled service like that, I'm looking at that and I'm going, well, heck, I mean, am I going to be at risk here? So imagine, and everybody has that fear. Everyone has heard the horror stories of, oh, we used these template contracts from LegalZoom and it really,
Okay,
really ended up not working
sorry
out.
to cut you off because you were saying LegalShield initially, and I was like,
Oh, sorry.
wait, no, you do
LegalZoom.
speak with attorneys. Yeah,
No,
LegalZoom,
sorry.
which
I meant
is a
LegalZoom.
contract
LegalZoom.
library. Yeah.
We
And I
got
just wanted to
we got
confirm. I was like, wait, no. But no, you're right, and it's very important that the end user. I see on Facebook because I do a lot of social media marketing. I see on Facebook all these little, just for $75, we'll send you a little template. And, I'm going, oh my gosh. And so many people fall for it. And any attorney listening in knows that you never want to DIY your legal. And there's a lot of different companies out there that are encouraging people to do just that. And the reason is because they can't afford to hire you if you're an attorney, so making yourself available through a subscription or through lower costs, however you need to do it, is only going to increase your business.
Yes. And sorry, we've got all the legals. We've got Legal Karma, LegalZoom, LegalShield. They can
Yes.
all the legals flying around. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. That's and that's the big market gap. And I think that goes back to lawyers aren't trained to be entrepreneurs. They're not trained to be business owners. They're not trained to identify market gaps. But when someone like me looks at the ABA's website and they're like, yeah, 76% of Americans in 2017 just couldn't afford legal services. I'm like, holy cow, the majority of the market can't afford it. And so if you are a firm who makes your services accessible and problem solves that, there's a lot of opportunity there, a lot of opportunity that LegalShield is tapping into, a lot of opportunity that LegalZoom is tapping into. So, and I think that's where Legal Karma is going to come in and kind of and be that missing piece and be that enabler, because right now there's, besides maybe Shopify or something, like there's nowhere a law firm could go to get some of that stuff set up. Well, okay. Well, I think this is a really great place to wrap. Tara, is there anything else that you'd like to share?
I just, I really appreciate those that are looking to make the legal system better. And so that's why I think I just resonate so much with you. And I appreciate, what you're doing, Corey, because any opportunity to make access to justice more affordable and more available to more people it's a good thing. And social justice, we're seeing it every day in the news right now. And I know it's a sensitive subject, although it should not be, because we're a 250-year experiment here, the United States, and we have protests in our streets every single day and have had for months now. And there's a reason for that, and making justice available and affordable to all, I think, would reduce a lot of that. It would remove a lot of the stress for individuals and families across, this entire country. It would empower more people to be able to do what they want to do to make their own lives better. And attorneys make that possible. And so whatever we can do, individually or collectively to create a better world, I think is kind of genetically programmed into us, to be a mission. And in whatever way we have that ability to go after it, it's important that we do. And making access to justice is an important life mission. And so I thank everybody who is on board with that one.
Well, snaps and claps for Tara. Thank you so much for being on our episode today. That was really good. Tara, just really quickly, if listeners want to learn more about you or just connect with you, where can they go?
My email address is info, short for information, at gototara.com, GOTOTARA.com. And I'm happy to answer any questions. I'm happy to converse, share information on LegalShield, whatever it is that you want to know. My website is gototara.com. And that's where you'll find the LegalShield subscriptions. And, as an attorney, you might just want to go and look at it just to see what all we have available for that $25 a month, or for the business plans, of which we have 4 tiers. Go see what the benefits are that we offer for those price points, so that you can maybe kind of do a comparison for yourself for a model that you'd like to implement. And so I'm happy to answer any questions. And Corey, again, thank you so much for having me on. I enjoyed myself. I enjoyed getting to know you a little bit better. And I hope that we helped your listeners.
Wonderful. And if you're a first-time listener here, welcome. We're delighted that you tuned in. If you'd like to learn more about Legal Karma, our products, our foundation, please visit us at legalkarma.org. And if you're just interested in being a guest on our podcast or sharing more about the great work that you're doing, you can always reach me at Corey, that's Kory, Corey at legalkarma.org. Thanks for tuning in, folks.